So I've really been slacking when it comes to coming up with a video idea this week and actually making said video. In fact, it's 1:39 right now, and as you know, I post my videos at 8 o'clock on Saturday, and so that means that I don't have a lot of time for this video. Hey, that's not anything new. But I finally did come up with an idea, and so I'm using my streaming setup here. And this is actually going to be about one of the things that I've wanted to stream. So let's go ahead and get into it. Roll the thing. Hey guys, Sean here. So today I want to talk to you about a tabletop board game that I really got into and have been wanting to stream actually on Twitch, but just haven't gotten around to doing it. That's one of the reasons I made this setup, was so that I could get back into it. And this is just kind of a test to see how well it's going to work out, because I haven't actually done a stream of it yet. So I want to see how it's going to actually work out with this setup and what tweaks I need to make in order to make it work properly. And that game is this Marvel Legendary. Make sure it's in the camera. And it is a deck building game, of course based on the Marvel Comics license, and it is made by Upper Deck. If you don't know who Upper Deck is, they are just one of the #1, what would you say, collectible card companies to get collectible cards in history, basically. Like, pretty much it's them and Fleer when it comes to like baseball cards, and has been for decades at this point. So they know what they're doing when it comes to making cards, in other words. So what is a deck building game exactly? Well, it's a game where you have a deck of cards, and then through whatever circumstances in the game, you end up adding cards to your hand that can then be used to progress in the objective of the game, if you will. So without further ado, let's switch on over, using the Stream Deck over here, to the actual gameplay that we are talking about. So here we have the game board. Right here is the mastermind. This is the main villain that we are trying to defeat. If we defeat this villain, we win the game. This is the scheme that they're trying to pull off. You see, in comic books, villains, they always have some sort of scheme that they're trying to get away with. They don't just like attack people. They have a reason behind why they are attacking people. So that's what this is. So over here is the hero deck. Now there's only 3 heroes in here because this is a solo game. Now you see up here there is a chart that shows how many of each type of card group you put depending on how many players there are. So since it's only 1, there's 3 in there. If there were 2 to 4 players, you would have 5 in there, and then if you had 5 players, you would have 6 heroes in there. So let's see if I shuffled them well enough to mix it up good. So the first hero that we have here is Black Widow. Now, they go in the HQ here, which is a shield helicarrier, which you may recognize from various Marvel properties. And then the next hero in the deck is Wolverine, and the next one is Storm. So I did mix it up well enough to where all 3 of them appeared, because I'm really bad at shuffling. In fact, I don't really know how to do it right. And so sometimes when I do this, it would be 5 of all the same hero, and I'd be like, that was a terrible shuffle. So this is good that the first 3 were different. And you want to lay out 5 into this section. Now for each round, you draw 5 cards. So here are my 5 cards here, and as you can see, you start off with 2 different types of cards. So there is a shield agent, and then a shield trooper. Now the difference between these 2 cards is every card has either a star or a claw mark on it, and some of them have both. And this basically describes what they can do. So cards with stars on them, and the number is how many recruit points this card has. And so recruit points are used to recruit the heroes in the HQ. Each hero has a recruit number, so like this Black Widow card is 2, so it would take 2 of the shield agents to recruit this Black Widow card and put her into your deck. This Wolverine card has 5, so I only have 3, so I wouldn't be able to afford this Wolverine card. Now what do the attacks do? Well, that's where the villain deck comes in, so let's go ahead and put the first villain into play. And the first villain is the Hellfire Club, and they are a henchman card, so they're basically low-level villains that you attack. And you'll see here in the corner, they have a 3 with the claw mark. That is how much you have to damage them in order to defeat them. So I would need 3 of these in order to defeat that card, and I only have 2 of them in my hand currently. You start out the game with a deck made up of 8 of these recruit cards and 4 of the attack cards. And my deck is over here. You will also see here that the hero cards have abilities on them. So for example, this Wolverine card of Frenzied Slashing has the power to draw 2 cards. Now when that card ends up in your hand, you can then draw 2 more cards from your deck. These here are wound cards. Now some of the villains or masterminds, or maybe even the scheme, will have something where you will end up having to put a wound card in your deck. And basically, they don't do anything. So if I were to have a wound card here, I would end up basically having 1 less card in my hand. And then over here we have bystander cards. Now sometimes a villain might end up taking a bystander as a hostage, and so you end up putting it underneath the villain card, and then when you end up defeating that villain, you rescue the bystander and it goes in your victory pile. And we'll get to the victory pile in a moment once we start actually playing. And then down here you have the shield officer. Now let's say we were in a situation where all the hero cards out here were 4 or 5, and I only have the 3 shield agents here that I would be able to purchase a card with, and so I wouldn't be able to afford any of them. But then I could end up buying a shield officer for 3, and shield officers have a recruitment of 2, so each one of these cards is worth 2 of these cards. So now the last 2 things we're going to look at really quickly here before we start is we're going to look at the mastermind here. It is Mole Man, and he has a thing that he does. So in this deck, there is a Master Strike card, and if we end up getting that Master Strike card, then whatever is written on here will happen. And then lastly, there is the Scheme. In this deck as well, there are 8 Scheme Twists. Now, if we get one of the Scheme Twists, then what is written here will end up happening. I've now actually said way too much because a lot of people say that the best way to teach this game is to just play it. So let's go ahead and start playing. Up here in the corner, it shows the turn order, but luckily for all of you, I have made the turn orders so that they will appear on the screen, so you can see what turn order we are on right over there. So the first thing in the turn order is reveal 1 card from the villain deck, and I have the, like, what you see on the screen over here, so that's why I'm pointing at it, because I'm looking at what you're looking, so I guess I should be pointing over here. Reveal 1 card from the villain deck and resolve. So we already revealed the card, and it is the Hellfire Club henchman villain, and it says reveal the top card of your deck. If it costs 0, KO it. Otherwise you get +1 star or recruit points. So the top card of my deck is 0. So if it costs 0, KO it. So that means that it gets thrown here, and I can't use that card anymore. It's not in my hand anymore. So I've now lost one of my cards. So that's a terrible way to start off. Let's move on to number 2, which is play cards from your hand to defeat villains, recruit heroes, and attack the mastermind. Now as you see here, the mastermind has a health of 7, so I will need a lot more attack cards in order to attack the mastermind. But then also, they have 3, so I can't attack them either. So these 2 guys are worthless. So they're gonna go in my discard. For the purpose of this, let's put my discard here. So I do have the 3, so let's purchase one of these 2 ones. And so Black Widow here is draw a card. This Wolverine is draw a card, and this Black Widow is draw a card. So let's take the Black Widow, draw a card, and you put her in your discard pile. Next up is... there's apparently a Banshee outside my window. Next up is place defeated villains, defeated mastermind tactics, and rescued bystanders into your victory pile. Well, I didn't do any of those things, so I don't have a victory pile yet. But the victory pile is basically all the cards that you defeat. They go in the victory pile, and then each card is worth a certain amount of points. That's what these little... if you see here, there's a little 6 on the mastermind here. There's a little 1 on this villain card over here. And that's how many points they're worth. So if you're playing with a bunch of people, then if you want to be competitive at the end, you can be like, I got the most points. And so, but it's a cooperative game, so you don't really play against each other. But if you want to be competitive, you have that ability. But since we didn't defeat anything, we're gonna move on. Next up is place all heroes played this turn and all remaining cards in your hand into your discard. So I did that kind of at the beginning with the 2 that I couldn't use. I ended up putting them in the discard. So if you can't use a card, or you have any cards left over at the end of the turn, then you have to discard them. And then last is draw a new hand of 6 cards, which I'm now realizing I did wrong the first time, because I was supposed to draw 6 cards and I only drew 5. That's how long it's been since I've played this, so that was a mistake. So I will be sure and do it correctly this time. So 6. Oh, also, when you buy a hero from the HQ, you should replace it instantly. So there is another Wolverine draw 2 cards card. And that's it. That's a full turn. So let's go ahead and start over. So number 1, reveal 1 card from the villain deck and resolve. So we will take the first card from the villain deck. It is a Master Strike. So that means that whatever is written on the Mastermind card will now happen. So his Mastermind Strike is all Subterranea villains in the city escape. If any villain escapes this way, each player gains a wound. Now here's the thing, when you play solo, the rules say that you can select any villain group. Now Subterranea are a villain group, so if you were playing this with a group of people, then one of the villains in this deck would be Subterranea villains. But since I'm playing solo, I don't have Subterranea villains in here, so his Master Strike is now completely moot at this point. But if we were in a group and there were Subterranea villains, if there were any in this row, then they would end up escaping, and I would get a wound. Also, every time a villain escapes, you end up having to KO a card from the HQ that is worth 5 or more. So we've completed step 1 of the round. Let's move on to step 2. Play cards from your hand to defeat villains, recruit heroes, and attack the mastermind. So again, I only have 2 for attack, so I will put them in the discard pile, and then I have 4 here to recruit, so we will go with Storm since she is worth 4, and we will put her in the deck. Place defeated villains, yada yada yada, we don't have any. Place all heroes played in the discard, and I did that. Draw a hand of 6. Now, since I don't have any more in my deck, they're all in my discard, I gotta shuffle the discard and start over. So now you see I got the Storm card in this hand. And that's the end of the turn order, so let's start over. Reveal 1 villain card from the villain deck and resolve. It is a scheme twist. So first one is put the twist next to this scheme. Alright, well I'm gonna put it up here because that's a good space for it. So it actually looks like for twists 1 through 4, that's all that happens. But then 5 and 6, something bad happens. 7, something really bad happens. And then 8, evil wins. Alright, play hero cards. So I have 4 recruit cards. I am going to recruit this Wolverine and this Black Widow. And then we have 3 for attack, because Storm is 2 and the Trooper is 1. So let's attack these guys and defeat them. So they are now defeated. We will read and see if they have any sort of... No, they don't have any sort of when defeated. And they will go in my victory pile. Place defeated villains in the... That's what I just did. Place all heroes played, and then... Yeah, I already did that. Draw a new hand of 6 cards. Okay, so I'm going to keep playing, and so now we will skip ahead to the next time something major happens. Okay, so we've reached a point where we have enough attack power to attack the Mastermind now. So he is 7, although he's 7 plus because he gets plus attack for each Subterranea villain that has escaped. As I said, there aren't Subterranea villains in this deck, so that's not going to happen. And so I will now attack him because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so when you attack the Mastermind, you take the card that is underneath. And so as we fight the Mastermind here, I now get plus 6, usable only against villains in the street. So that would be on this turn. There's no villains in the street, so I can't attack anyone in the street. So he goes in my victory pile, and all of these go into my discard. I have 2 here. I can't afford anything. I can't even afford a shield officer. But we've taken away one of the Mastermind cards, so we got 4 more to go. Okay, so as you can see here, I have now gotten 5 scheme twists. And so that means that each player gains a wound. So now I get a wound card put into my deck, so that's going to be a problem. Okay, so we've reached the point where I have drawn my new hand, and I actually have enough attack points now to defeat the Mastermind for the last time and win the game. So depending on what happens with the next card that I draw, this could very well be the end of the game. So let's see what the next card is. It is a Scheme Twist, which would be number 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each player gains a wound. So a wound goes into my discard pile. So that's it for the villain deck turn. So then it is time to play the cards from my hand. So I will now defeat the Mastermind for the 4th time. And it says, if this is not the final tactic, reveal the top 6 cards of the villain deck, which it is the final tactic. So it goes into my victory pile, and that's it. That's the end of the game. I won. I defeated the Mastermind. So let's add up my victory points. And so my victory points total is 36. Now, since I'm playing by myself, of course, that means that I win because I didn't have a lower victory point total than anyone else. I guess that's one of the good things about playing by yourself. And so there you have it. That is Marvel Legendary by Upper Deck. As I said, I want to start playing this on Twitch at some point. That's part of the reason why I created this setup. There are some few tweaks that I need to do here or there. I think I need to get rid of all of this space on this camera here. This really isn't necessary. So I think that's one of the things that I'm going to do. And maybe a few other tweaks here or there, but I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be. So let's head back over to this camera to close things out. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more of the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to see more Marvel Legendary, head on over to twitch.tv/ShadeRaven, and one of these days I will finally get around to actually streaming it, because that is the hope for doing this. I have a bunch of expansions for this game, so you will probably never see the same heroes twice or same villains twice, because my god, there's a lot. So head on over, twitch.tv/ShadeRaven, hit the subscribe, hit the notification, you'll get notified when I start streaming. And if you'd like to help support the crazy crap that goes on around here and on twitch.tv/ShadeRaven, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.